Cancel Carmine! Cancel Carmine! Cancel Carmine! Cancel Carmine! Cancel! Come on, black folk, you see what they did to us? They got black women arrested and lied on them. Cancel Carmine! Cancel this racist establishment! We will not take it! You demand us an apology! Drop the charges at NYPD! Cancel Carmine!
BLM activists are rising up yet again, but now it's against Vax mandates. That's right. We're seeing nothing less than a civil war break out within the Democrat Party. In this video, we're going to take a look at what happened in New York City to spark the latest BLM outrage, how such an uprising is calling out Vax mandates as, yes, racist. And stick with me to the very end of this video where I'll reveal why this latest BLM uprising threatens to unravel and destroy the Democrat Party once and for all. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Patriots all across the globe. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you. As always, I am your daily fake news antidote, offering patriotic analysis to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we jump into things here, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's Collagen, available at my special website, healthwithsteveturley.com. If you don't know, many health experts now agree that consuming collagen helps to renew and revitalize how you look and how you feel. Taking collagen regularly can revitalize your body. It can make your skin, bones, even your hair look and feel more healthy and youthful. And if you click on that link below right now, you're going to get 51% off your order. So don't wait. Click on that link below today and get your own collagen supply. You'd be glad that you did. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. I have a question for you. What happens when the Democrats' attempt to vilify and shame and scorn anti-vaxxers actually ends up colliding with their most honored and revered and celebrated cause, which of course is Black Lives Matter? What can you say? Civil war? That's exactly what it looks like we're seeing emerge from within the Democratic Party. It all began with footage from an Italian restaurant in Manhattan called Carmine's. 3 black women from Texas were arrested after they attacked a hostess at Carmine's who asked them to provide proof of their vaccination status. Now, the details of what actually happened are frankly all over the place, but it all boils down to what we've grown rather accustomed to of late. These 3 black women are alleging that the hostess used racial slurs while accusing them of faking their vax cards and stuff like that. And of course, that seems to justify these women lashing out in violence. Remember, one of the most important developments that we've been tracking with on this channel is how the violation of PC norms, politically correct norms, actually justifies violence as far as the left is concerned. The political left is inherently violent in that they actually believe that if you violate politically correct norms, that justifies their violence against you. Just like we saw BLM activists burning down cities and defacing, destroying our historical monuments, all in the name of racism, or anti-racism. So obviously, Carmine's, the restaurant, is claiming that this attack was unprovoked, but it doesn't matter. What actually happened here is irrelevant. And that's because our nation is so racially charged right now that nothing could stop BLM chapter leaders from accusing restaurants like this one in Manhattan of exploiting their vax mandates. You ready? They're exploiting their vax. They're using their vax mandates as an excuse to what? Discriminate against blacks. This is exactly what a fellow by the name of Hawk Newsom is saying. Newsom is the co-founder and chairman of BLM New York. And he was quoting the New York Times as saying, quote, "Restaurants are using vaccine mandates to enforce their racist beliefs and excluding black patrons. Vax mandates are now being used to enforce systemic racism." And needless to say, BLM is taking to the streets over this, launching a Cancel Carmine's movement. Take a look.
Cancel Carmine! Cancel Carmine! Cancel Carmine! Cancel Carmine! Cancel! Come on, black folk, you see what they did to us? They got black women arrested and lied on them. Cancel Carmine! Cancel this racist establishment! We will not take it! You demand us an apology! Drop the charges at NYPD! Cancel Carmine! Cancel Carmine! Today you choose to put your people of color out front, but a week ago you wouldn't allow
Regardless of how anyone feels about what actually happened at Carmine's, we need to take a few steps back and get a sense of the bigger picture here and see how this uprising by BLM, this backlash against Vax Mandates, is actually part of the larger picture of the unraveling of the Democrats and their political left, right? Now, I don't mean to gloat, but of course I will.
You're the man, Steve.
Yes, I'm the man. And I'm the man because I did a video a couple of weeks back after Biden announced his pathetic and ridiculously unconstitutional vax mandates. And here is what I said. And I would add that this ironically risks splintering the Democratic Party, in that, as the Epoch Times has reported, a number of unions that are otherwise loyal to the Democrat Party have issued statements in recent weeks saying they're opposed to vaccine mandates, including some hospital workers unions, firefighters unions, and police unions. And interestingly enough, blacks, perhaps the single most loyal constituent of the Democratic Party, ironically are the least likely to be vaccinated of any racial demographics. So we predicted here on this channel that Biden's vax mandate would indeed risk splitting apart the Democrat Party. And that's precisely what we appear to be seeing here. We're seeing nothing less than the far left most cherished and revered movement, BLM, rising up against their most uncompromising and non-negotiable policy, and that, of course, is vax mandates. Remember, you can't forget just how much the mainstream media gushed over BLM a year ago last summer. BLM represented the bona fide Marxist moment that secular leftists have been dreaming about for over a century in this nation. It was America's Bolshevik blowback, and it promised to remake our nation to the image of far-left activists once and for all. But now BLM activists aren't behaving. They're not playing by the rules anymore. And by the way, those rules have been largely established by white liberals, of course. But as we noted in that earlier video, many blacks, they're just not particularly interested in the vaccine, let alone a vax mandate. Take a look at this. The latest Morning Consult poll has found that Biden's approval rating has dropped nearly 20 points among blacks since he announced his draconian and unconstitutional vax mandate. According to the poll, Biden's approval has dropped a stunning 17 points among black voters just over the last few weeks. And the Morning Consult poll noted that given the historic low turnout among blacks in midterm elections, this drop in support could mean nothing less than a cataclysmic disaster in 2022 for the Democrats. But I would say that there's something even bigger going on here. I think that this trend among black voters to see vax mandates as inherently racist points to an even larger trend. But before we get into that, you may have heard our big announcement. I have the absolute honor of sharing the stage with the one and only Donald Trump Jr. on October 8th and 9th in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm thrilled to be partnering with the American Freedom Tour and speaking alongside Kayleigh McEnany and Dinesh D'Souza and Dan Bongino and many more patriots you know and love in Jacksonville. And I want to meet you there. So make sure to click on the link below to register for this amazing conference. And to make it even sweeter, if you're one of the first 100 people to sign up, you'll be entered into a drawing for me and my team to take you out to dinner. It's going to be so cool. Plus, if you click on that link, everyone gets some super amazing bonuses, including my best-selling book bundle, an official Turley Talks t-shirt, and a 3-month access to Insiders Club. So don't wait. Click on that link below and join me for dinner. I can't wait to see you there. So what's the bigger picture that I'm talking about here? Well, in many respects, what we have to understand is that because the left has gone all in with identity politics, they've always risked some form of balkanization with their movement. Leftists are beginning to recognize that there are fault lines in their rather broad coalition, and those fault lines are very, very fragile. They can easily splinter and break apart. And all that's needed for the coalition to fracture and break up is for one coalition group to offend the sensibilities of another coalition group. And that larger fracturing appears to be exactly what we're seeing here with BLM rising up against vax mandates. And we talked about this in that video on the backlash against Biden's vax mandates. Vax mandates are an extension of the technocratic side of the Democratic Party, okay? The Democratic Party has always been made up of Marxists and socialists who've advocated using modern technology to control the masses, to control population. At the same time, the Democrat Party has adopted cultural Marxism. It's characterized by tribalistic loyalties of different ethnic groups that are considered marginalized and discriminated against by the larger culture. Now, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that these two groups can easily clash. Technocrats can easily enact policies that offend the sensibilities of minority groups who see those technocratic policies as racist, as every bit a threat to them as supposedly the Republicans are. And by the same token, racial sensitivities of cultural Marxist groups can end up offending the policies of scientific technocrats and their refusal to go along with the technocratic elite. So what all of this basically boils down to is that the Marxist moves that the Democrat left has made over the last several decades has always risked breaking apart and falling apart, just like what we saw what happened with the Soviet Union. All the different republics that were held together during the 20th century by this one ideology of Marxism, it all ended up balkanizing once their conflicting interests ended up overwhelming the Marxism that held it all together. And that's precisely what I think we're seeing with the Democrat Party. By embracing technocratic tyranny like Vax mandates on the one hand, and embracing the tribalist sentiments of cultural Marxism like BLM on the other, inevitably the Democratic Party was setting itself up for its own civil war. And that's exactly what we're seeing breaking out here, just in time for the midterms. Now, before you go, you'll definitely want to check out my latest video on Australia exploding. Aussies have been pushed to their limit, and they are pushing back against their own nation's draconian lockdown measures. You are not going to want to miss this. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.